right. Good evening, National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated. And to all of our guests, welcome to the May edition of our NBC USA Inc. Hope Temple Care Matters webinar. We greet you in the joy of Jesus and thank you for joining us on this first Tuesday of May, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We do honor our national president, Dr. Boise Kimber. We also recognize our Hope National Director, Dr. Michael O'Miner. And tonight, we gather once again to strengthen our churches, protect our communities, and walk together in faith, health, and service. Tonight, we'll focus on key May observances. That's American Stroke Month, National Mental Health, Power to End Stroke Sunday, which is May 17th. And then we also added a special spotlight for Lupus Awareness Month. Now, as we look ahead and we're moving into May 5th, we pause and look at what's happening across the country with COVID-19, flu, RSV, and other respiratory illnesses. And what we can expect as we enter a new month, as warmer temperatures, graduations, Mother's Day programs, and increased travel. But remember, respiratory viruses continue to circulate. So stay informed. We want to help our churches stay prepared and keep our congregations healthy. So over the past month, overall respiratory illness in the United States has continued to decline. So with COVID-19 still remaining at low levels, flu activity dropping sharply, and RSV now at minimal levels in most regions, we still want to make sure that as we gather, we learn and know how to care for one another and how to protect our most vulnerable populations. So again, we want to protect one another. So as we look at COVID-19, it's expected to remain low at low levels nationally, but local increases may happen with large indoor activities, of course, travel, and in our communities with lower vaccinations and booster uptake. High-risk individuals should continue to take precautions during crowded gatherings. So remember, you can still mask up. Flu activity is now low across most of the country. Sporadic cases may continue, but especially influenza B among children and teens. But according to the 2025-26 flu season, it's effectively winding down. And then with our RSV levels, they are low nationwide. Regions that experience later peaks may still see some occasional cases, but widespread activity has ended. Of course, infants, young children, and older adults remain the groups that are most likely to experience these complications. So let's protect. Then as we move from April into May, the message remains steady. We are in a much better place than we were during the winter months, but we should continue to practice care and consideration. If we stay informed, stay compassionate, and stay committed to one another's well-being, our churches can continue to be places of safe gathering, strong witness, and shared health. So, as we continue our commitment to caring for God's temple, we recognize that wellness is not only physical, it is emotional, mental, financially, and spiritual. Many of our challenges we face in our families, in our churches, and our communities are actually shaped by mental health. And that brings us to our focus for the month of May. May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. This is a time to shine a light on the importance of emotional mental health. emotional well-being, reducing the stigma and reminding our congregations that mental health is a vital part of whole person wellness. So, mental health struggles are not a sign of weakness. They are part of the human experience. So just as we care for our bodies, we must also care for our minds and spirits. So we encourage you to visit hopenbc.com to download the Mental Health Awareness Month Toolkit. Duke has it showing on the screen, but download that kit. Visit hopenbc.com. We have some great resources for you to share with your congregation. So for our Black communities, this conversation is especially important because we have generational trauma, ongoing injustice, caregiving responsibilities, financial strain, and limited access to mental health resources. All these can create barriers to healing. But the good news is that the faith communities are uniquely positioned to offer compassion, connection, and hope. So as we look at whole person wellness, mental health does affect every part of our life, our relationships, our decisions, our worship, and our service. So we're encouraging each other, we're encouraging our members to check in with yourself emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. We want to break the stigma. We want to seek help. It's not a lack of faith when you seek help. It is an act of stewardship. Because remember, Jesus welcomed the hurting without shame. And then community support. Healing does grow in a community, and churches are our safe spaces for honest conversations, prayer, and mutual care. And scripture does remind us the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. In Psalm 34:18, he meets us in our struggles and walks with us toward wholeness. And some ideas we want to share with you so you can share with your congregation. Host a Green Sunday. That's a Sunday where you can highlight mental health awareness and offer a moment of prayer for emotional well-being. Share weekly mental health tips in your bulletins, group chats, announcements on your social media posts. Offer short workshops, recognizing the signs of emotional distress, supporting loved ones, and building resilience. You can even partner with your local resources. You have councils, chaplains, HBCU psychology programs, or even your community mental health centers. Ask for the education and referrals that they have available. Encourage wellness ministries, such as your walking groups, journaling circles, meditation moments, and even grief support gatherings. And one health observance that we're focusing on tonight is lupus awareness. NBC family, as we enter the month of May, we lift up an issue affecting many of our congregations and communities. Do you know that lupus is a chronic autoimmune disease that impacts hundreds of thousands of Americans, especially our Black women? It may not always be visible, but its effects are real. Fatigue, pain, inflammation, and unpredictable flare-ups. Yet those living with lupus show remarkable strength and resilience every day. So for us as a faith community, lupus is both a stewardship and a justice issue. Our Black women are diagnosed later and we experience more severe complications, not because the needs are different, but because access, awareness, and advocacy have not always been equal. So the church stands in the gap. When pastors speak, when congregations understand chronic illness, and when ministries offer compassion and flexibility, we help close that gap. So tonight, let's remember the lupus warriors. We're calling them warriors, our lupus warriors in our pews who may be suffering quietly. Let's think of the women pushing through this fatigue, the caregivers who need encouragement, and the families seeking understanding. And let's commit to being a source of compassion, education, and hope, because every person and every journey matters to God. So, as we reflect on the importance of understanding lupus with compassion, with clarity, and a commitment to justice, it's also important that we hear from those who work closely with patients, families, and communities every day. Tonight, we are blessed to have with us someone whose work embodies both expertise and heart. Miss Anne Marie, she currently serves as the CEO of Lupus Foundation of America's Texas Gulf Coast chapter, a standalone affiliation of the national organization, the Texas Gulf Coast chapter, which supports the mission of the Lupus Foundation of America. To shorten it, we say LFA.
Yes.
And through community-based education and advocacy programs held throughout the Texas Gulf Coast. Anne Marie joined LFA Texas Gulf Coast after beginning her second career in nonprofit work in 2012 at the center in Houston, working in the not-for-profit space in multiple disciplines, including business development, community relations, major gifts officer, and chief development officer. Anne Marie joined the fight against lupus in October 2012, and she has not looked back. So, using her experience in sales and marketing in the for-profit world, combined with lessons learned from nonprofit organizations and agencies across Houston, Anne Marie applies real-world experience to the nonprofit heart for the mission. The goal is to ensure the nonprofit chapter of Texas Gulf Coast is available for any lupus warrior in need for decades to come. And Anne Marie is happily married to her, listen to this, her voluntold husband, Kevin. Oh, Kevin got to show his face. They share in the joy of his daughter's best recent marriage. Congratulations. Playing tennis, collecting wine, and spending time enjoying their home and dogs, Roscoe and Maggie. And we are grateful to have her voice at the table tonight as we deepen our understanding and strengthen our ministry response. So, Anne, let's begin our conversation. First, I want to ask, how do I pronounce your last name?
Oh, don't worry about it. It's German.
I,
You, it's Blackater is
Black.
I'm married a very German family. Yes.
Okay. Because I know how I am with my last name. I'm like Carper, not Carpenter, Carper. So I want to make sure your name was correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for that. That's very kind.
Great. So you've had a remarkable journey from the for-profit world to the nonprofit leadership, and now serving as CEO of the Lupus Foundation of America's Texas Gulf Coast chapter. So what inspired you to join the fight against lupus?
It's such an interesting question. And by the way, y'all, I hope y'all pray for me, not for the number one reason that I don't talk too long, because it's a passion project for me for a really strong reason, and you're going to open me right up to this very strong reason. So I spent a lot of time in the for-profit world making money and doing well, and it was fun, it was great. And we when my husband and I got married later in life, once we put his daughter through school, I didn't need to make all that money anymore. And I wanted to do something that left a greater legacy and that was more reflective of who I actually am. So I entered into the nonprofit space and found out they don't run like a business,
Mm,
but boy, should they, right? Because a nonprofit agency that's supporting the community needs to be
mm,
available for people until there's no longer a need for that service. So I found that I could take the business acumen and slide right on over. The really interesting thing is when I had the opportunity to talk to the Lupus Texas Gulf Coast about their CEO position, I thought, I'm not ready to be a CEO. And my husband, the amazing Kevin, said, yes, you are. And so I basically I did the interview because he was insisting that I at least give it a shot.
mhm,
What was a blessing there is that when I did the interview, I came to understand during my research for that interview that lupus impacts almost 2.5 million people in this country. 90% are women, and 63% of those are Black or Hispanic. Well, why is our office in Shishifufu land where there's no people of color that can find us? Why are we
mhm,
not doing programs that educate communities that are impacted by this disease so that they can get a diagnosis and treatment and have their life be saved?
mhm,
So I went to the board and said, this is what you should be doing, and this is how you should do it, and good luck. And they said, well, will you do it? And I was like, but you don't want to do all that change. And they said, we actually do. We don't have any idea how. And so
mhm,
when you realize that somebody wants to do the change to do better, you want to be a part of that. And the funny thing about me is I'm actually a mixed race individual. And so I was raised by a white family, but I come from a Black father, and I have the privilege, if you will, of passing for white, which means I didn't have any of the biases thrown at me until people knew that
mhm,
I was a mixed race or Black person, and then I got it all. Why should it be that way? Why should it be that we have different healthcare systems for different cultural backgrounds? It shouldn't be. Everyone deserves access to high quality healthcare. And when I learned that this disease impacted our Black and Brown women who are beautiful, who are strong, who are faithful servants to their God, their community, their home, there was no way I wasn't going to do this. Because the opportunity to use what I know from my business background, what I know from rebuilding nonprofits, to build something bigger and stronger for awareness and education, advocacy for a culture of phenomenal women, felt like it was something I had to do.
that was your leading transition, huh? So, as the Texas Gulf Coast chapter, it is a standalone affiliate with a strong focus on community-based education and advocacy. So, what makes your chapter's approach unique, and how are you working to shorten the time to diagnosis for our lupus warriors in the region?
The education piece is vital.
Mm.
And I want to be really, is it okay if I'm terribly transparent?
No, please.
Thank you. I tend to be a little forward or direct for some people, so I like to make sure everybody's okay. We have a lack of understanding of autoimmune diseases in our healthcare professionals. Okay? So
Mhm.
when we go to a healthcare professional and we say, what do you know about lupus? If it's a primary care physician, they don't really know very much. It's not studied in medical school. They spend, what they tell me anecdotally is they spend about a half a day learning about autoimmune diseases. Now, if I were to ask the question, and this is a challenge, right? Because we know that for so long we had discrimination that was obvious and blatant, not
Mhm.
only in the school systems and the work communities and the hiring practices. And so having a culturally relevant physician takes a long time to get there. There's a long learning curve to become a physician, let alone a specialist. And the roadblocks to overcome all of the discrimination in the processes to get to that space has taken a very long time. So what we always recommend is a culturally relevant physician
Hmm.
who recognizes the differences between someone who is Black and someone who is Hispanic and someone who is white or European American. We do things, our body is different, our
Hmm.
body processes things different, and that's okay. There just has to be an open mind to that situation. So we educate our healthcare professionals primarily at the primary care physician level because that is our first call when something doesn't feel right. If you feel wonky, you've got a really bad migraine for days, your joints are swelling, we tend to go to our primary care physician a lot of times because that's what our insurance requires.
Hmm.
So if we go to a primary care physician who's not a specialist in autoimmune disease, who hasn't studied lupus in any way, shape, or form, and who doesn't look like us, we might get a response of, you probably should lose some weight, you might be pre-diabetic, drink more water, moderate exercise, come back and see me in 6 months. But what if it's lupus? Because a physician that is not an African American physician may not know that lupus is more prevalent in the African American community.
So can you tell us what is lupus? I know you mentioned autoimmune disease.
Lupus is, it's one of the autoimmune diseases, which includes vitiligo, gout, and fibromyalgia, and so many others, Sjögren's, rheumatoid arthritis. There's a ton of them. And the lupus, in its essence, is the body's immune system attacking the body itself.
Mm.
So one of my wonderful people who taught me so much about this disease would tell me it's an equal opportunity organ destroyer. From the top of the head to the tip of the toes, it can take your hair, your eyesight, your teeth. It can create a stroke, cause heart damage, cardiovascular problems. It can decrease your lung capacity and your ability to breathe. It really likes the kidneys, leading to dialysis and eventually a required transplant if one is available. It damages the joints. I've seen it take the teeth and take the toenails.
Mm.
It also can impact the skin. So you might know the singer Seal, who has the scarring on his face.
Mhm, mhm,
That is lupus. That is discoid lupus. It's on the skin.
mhm,
Nick Cannon, although he needs a lot of proof, let's just be honest. Nick Cannon has lupus nephritis, which means he has lupus that impacted his whole body and also attacked his kidney.
mhm,
Toni Braxton, lupus nephritis. Once it tried to take her kidney. I think she may have had a transplant. And so there's more and more opportunity to understand it is actually a wider disease than what was originally thought. More people have it than we thought because our physicians, our primary care, are chasing the symptom you're coming in with, not the
mhm.
cause of that particular symptom.
So what are some common myths and what does the science actually tell us about lupus?
So, first, I'll tell you if you Google lupus,
Hmm.
it is not cancer, it is not contagious. It is actually something that can be passed through the generations.
Hmm.
So, any autoimmune disease can beget any autoimmune disease. So, you can get it if you had that uncle that had kidney failure and died from kidney failure that nobody knew why his kidney failed.
Hmm.
We ask, what if it's lupus?
Hmm.
Right? Because maybe he was just never tested or diagnosed. So, what you can see in lupus that can be easily confused with other things is the hair falling out in clumps. Now, my hair is kind of shellacked back because it's humid in Houston today and my hair is very curly and it grows tremendously in humid weather. But if it were to come out, I would be very upset. Would you?
Hmm.
Yes, this would be upsetting. And yet, what does a doctor tell us? Oh, it's probably stress.
Hmm.
Okay. What if it's lupus? If I have swelling in my joints, in both of my hands, if my fingers are swelling so badly at the joints and it's happening on both sides, what if it's lupus? Severe migraines,
Mm.
extreme fatigue, and the fatigue that says, I went to bed at 8 last night, it's 10 o'clock the next morning, and I cannot bring myself to move a muscle to get out of this bed.
Mm.
That is how lupus warriors feel. If you're out in the sun and it just creates a rash on your face or your body, ooh, what if it's lupus, right? There's so many symptoms because it can attack any part of the body
Mhm.
that we, as the patient, have to be incredibly, incredibly self-advocating to ask for the test for lupus because it's only a blood test.
Mm.
That's
Okay.
it. It's just a
That's,
blood test.
yeah, because I was getting ready to ask, how is lupus diagnosed? Through
Hmm.
the blood test.
It's a blood test. Now you do have to request it. It's called an ANA panel. And that what they're looking for is certain levels of antibodies, double-stranded DNAs that are clear indicators. However, the American College of Rheumatology, which is kind of an overall guide for autoimmune diseases,
Mhm.
indicates that if the test is negative, that doesn't mean you don't have lupus. The physician should be looking at your symptoms to determine if lupus could be a possibility and begin treatment until 3 months goes by and you can do the test again. It's very difficult today to diagnose lupus because the test fails a third of the time.
So support, what does that look like after a lupus diagnosis?
Yeah. Um, Support can be a real challenge for folks. Now, we're here for people, and I don't care where you live, we're going to help you and we'll help you find resources, physicians,
Mhm.
whatever you need. There are support groups. Here in our area of Texas, we also do peer mentors. So we take a new lupus diagnosed person with someone who's been on the journey for a while and we partner them up if they have a similar background, similar cultural identity, someone they can kind of talk through with because as you noted with Mental Health Awareness Month, that impacts lupus patients tremendously. The
Mhm.
depression and the mental health state of many lupus patients is very difficult. It's
Mhm.
very challenging. So we want to give them all the support we can. It usually takes a very dedicated family member. Maybe it's a life partner, a spouse, a really dear friend, a cousin, an auntie. But you many times patients whose disease is progressing or they were diagnosed so late that their organ impact is severe,
Mhm.
they need a lot of full-time care and often have to go on disability in order to maintain a reasonable lifestyle. In other words, pay for their treatments, pay for their medicines, pay for the dialysis, etc. Support can be a real tough road.
And why is this important for our churches to understand?
Well, if you were to go back to your home church and ask who in the congregation might be impacted by lupus. And that means someone who has it, has a family member who has it, has lost a family member that has it. You're
Mhm.
going to see an awful large number of hands that go up. And that's only if they were even diagnosed.
Mhm.
Because we know that this primarily impacts our Black and Brown community. And although it is 90% female, can I just tell you, when it hits our men,
Mhm.
it's far more aggressive in our Black men.
Mhm.
Far more. And it usually shows up in the kidney first before
Mhm.
any other symptom is so big that they comment and say something is wrong.
So with,
It,
oh, excuse me.
I'm just, one of the things that's great about our faith communities, our home church, is the
Mhm.
safe space, right?
Mhm.
That's a
Right.
church is a safe space for me. And if I need to talk to someone, I know that I can. With that safe space, talking about our health, talking about these opportunities, mental health,
Hmm.
lupus awareness, kidney awareness, all of the things that can go wrong because our Black community, again, we have not built an infrastructure that is there to strongly support and promote the good health for our Black community. That is not what America has built. And I apologize, that's just how I talk. It,
Hmm.
if we don't talk about it, who will?
Right.
Right?
So,
And so in a safe space, you should be comfortable talking about health and how to help one another.
so what should our church leaders know about the fatigue, the pain, and the invisible illness?
I think from the mouth of every warrior that has ever answered this question from me,
Uh-huh.
that it's real,
Mm,
that it's real. I have a wonderful friend. Her name is Jomitra. She happens to have lupus. She's actually the executive director of the African American Health Coalition. And she's a fierce warrior. She's an enormous health advocate. She's a community health worker, instructor. She is amazing and out there all the time and to her own detriment.
mm,
And she is the third
mhm,
woman who has come to me and said, my husband doesn't believe me and has left me and told me it's not real. I'm faking it. She's had her hair fall out. She's been, one day I saw her, she was so swollen, she was unrecognizable, and I've known her for 5 years.
mm,
It is real. When a lupus patient says, if I say, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. I go, uh-huh, tell me the truth.
mhm,
Because a lupus patient, much like someone with other chronic pain, they're faking being well,
mm,
right? And so what can the church family do?
mhm,
See them for who they truly are,
mhm,
love them for who they truly are, and support them even when they even when they can't return that to you.
mhm.
Sometimes they just don't have it. But it is real. It is very real.
Now you mentioned about her husband. So how can we support caregivers of lupus warriors who also experience stress, exhaustion, and isolation?
Yes.
How can we
It,
support the
it
caregivers?
it's a tough one. I think for one, allowing those caregivers to have a space to talk to one another is incredibly helpful. And may I just share that goes for parents who have children with lupus. They have the parent, the caregiver has to be a fierce advocate. The
Mm,
lupus patient, and again, we have this bias in our healthcare system. And so when a Black woman goes in and says, "You're not listening to me. I'm
mm,
telling you these are the symptoms,"
mhm,
do we get the kind of response that's deserved? Or do you get the "don't get angry with me" response, right? A fierce advocate is able to actually be with you in the physician's office, with you when you have a hospital stay due to what we call a lupus flare,
mm,
knowing what medications you're on, knowing what treatments you're supposed to be getting, who is your primary caregiver from the hospital, from the physician standpoint, so that if there's a crisis, that caregiver has all the information needed. Now, we play that role for some patients. We
mhm,
have we have what's called a flare kit on our website that helps the lupus patient be prepared for an emergency. What
mhm,
hospital can I go to? What medicines do I take in what levels? These are all the things that my partner, my advocate needs to know so I can be treated properly in the hospital. And believe it or not all hospitals are the same, are they?
right.
Some hospitals don't have a rheumatology service,
Mhm,
and rheumatology is who treats lupus. So
mhm,
you can't just go to any hospital. You have to plan in advance for which one's going to be able to treat your disease.
mhm. So what role can our faith communities play in reducing this stigma and promoting hope for those living with lupus?
I think Oprah said it really well. Each one teach one. You know, we already know everybody has something. Everybody has something. I have something. Lupus patients have something. For some people, it's really visible, and for some, it's not. We know as followers of Christ that we go with grace and we give grace,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if someone is having an off day, go with grace. If you know that they have lupus and they look exhausted, may I carry this to your car for you? Would you
Mm-hmm.
like a wheelchair to get back to your car? Can I wheel you into the luncheon? Small acts of kindness can go a very far way. The largest of which is allowing a person to be seen exactly where they are, the same way that Christ sees us.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I took my proclamation and did my walk of faith. I was nowhere near perfect. I'm still not anywhere near perfect. Thank goodness Christ does not wait for me to be perfect to love me.
Right.
And
Grace and mercy, grace and mercy, grace
grace
and
and
mercy.
mercy. And that is a gift that we can give to our home church members.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's how I feel about that.
Okay. So as we observe Lupus Awareness Month, what final message of encouragement would you like to leave with our NBC USA Inc. family?
I think it's amazing that you're talking about this, and I'm ever so grateful. I hope that church members, I hope the members of this body go back to their home churches and ask who might be impacted by this disease and how they might be able to provide assistance. Maybe they can start a lupus support group in their community and even bring new members to their church. There's so much we can do by simply talking about lupus. And all of you, but I'm in Texas, so I'm going to say all y'all have taken a huge first step in helping to break the silence around this
Mhm.
incredibly cruel disease. Thank you.
Well, we thank you. Thank you so much. I'm looking at the chat and I see comments. Your bio mentioned your voluntold husband, Kevin, and your love for tennis, wine collecting, and your dogs. Is it Maggie May and Peanut?
It used to be Roscoe and Maggie May, and unfortunately, Roscoe. And so we have Peanut and Maggie May. They're usually in the chair behind me, but they're busy playing in the other room tonight.
Okay. Well, tell husband Kevin, thank you. And
Will
how
do.
do these joys outside of work help you stay grounded while leading such an important mission?
Everybody has to have a little relief,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Um, and Patricia from Tuskegee, I see you, and I hope you go to Dreamland as often as I wish I could. Um, the tennis is how my frustration can be worked out. I'm a rather competitive tennis player.
Mhm.
And so that way I'm getting all of that adrenaline and activity out. And as we all know, even though we should walk 3 times a week and do those things, we don't always make time or, and I think it is for me, make the time. I just need to get up earlier and go do it. It
Mhm.
allows my head to be clear and focus and be prepared to face the day supporting those that I love to support.
Yeah.
So I think those are really crucial things. My wonderful voluntold husband, Kevin, we just had our lupus walk in Houston this past
Yeah.
weekend.
Yes, my
Right now,
sister participated.
excellent, thank you. You know, he's got a truck full of chairs and tables to go back to the tool bank tomorrow because we had to go pick everything up and I had to go to another meeting and he's like, I got it. He just takes care of it. It's, you
Wonderful.
know, I don't know how we do it without him
Yeah.
because he just kind of leans in and my board always says we got a 2-for-1 deal with you two. Because if he
Wonderful.
doesn't support the work, it's too difficult for me to be able to do it because I still had to get dinner going.
Mhm.
So when he gets home, he can still have dinner.
We'll be ready. So,
Yes.
Anne Marie, we thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your clarity, and your heart with us tonight. Your insights do help our congregations move beyond awareness into real understanding, compassion, and support for those living with lupus. You've given us language and practical steps that will strengthen how we care for every family God has placed in our fellowship. And so we're so grateful for the work you do in the community and for the way you've poured into our family this evening. So you're part of NBC USA Inc. family. So we want to thank you. And everyone watching, don't worry, Anne Marie is going to stay on for our Q&A period. So you can put your questions in the chat, or you can also make a note. So when it's time for Q&A, you'll be ready to jump right in. So as we continue our conversation, we want to remember American Stroke Association. The Power to End Stroke Sunday is May 17th. So celebrate as we continue. When we say celebrate, that means bringing that awareness as we continue our commitment to caring for God's temple. We recognize that wellness is not only physical, it is communal, spiritual, and deeply connected to how we show up for one another. Stroke still remains one of the most urgent health challenges facing our families and our congregation. And that brings us to the focus for the month of May of National Stroke Awareness. This is a time to educate, empower, and equip our communities with the tools needed to prevent stroke and respond quickly when it occurs. So when we say stroke is not only a medical emergency, it is a justice issue, it's a family issue, and a faith issue. And then be sure to download our Power Sunday Toolkit. Check out the HopeNBC.com website and download these toolkits for your church congregation. Stroke continues to disproportionately impact our Black families and robbing too many of our loved ones of strength, independence, and life itself. But we have good news, and that is stroke is often preventable and early action saves lives. So through the American Stroke Association's Power to End Stroke movement and the faithful leadership of our churches, we can help our people live stronger, longer, and healthier lives. And prevention is power. So what we want to make sure, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, which are all major factors, but they are manageable. So we want to know the signs. FAST, F-A-S-T, saves lives. So when we're talking about FAST, F-A-S-T, F is the face drooping. So if you notice someone, droopy face. A is the arm weakness. S is the speech difficulty, if they're having speech or if you're having speech difficulty. And then T, it's time to call 911. So the community matters in this. Stroke affects nearly every family in our congregation. And what we want to do is care for our bodies. This shows an act of stewardship and gratitude, because what does Psalm 139:14, our Hope foundational scripture, say? I will praise you, O Lord, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and my soul knows that quite well. So why this month matters, National Stroke Awareness Month is not just about information. It is about empowerment. And as our toolkit states, Power Sunday is more than a health emphasis. It is a ministry empowerment. So our churches are the power, and together we can end stroke. So let's keep the momentum going. And again, FAST is what? You can type it in the chat. Face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. And T, time to call 911. So as we close out tonight's discussion, let's take one more look at our key May health observances. These are powerful opportunities for our health ministries to lead with love, learning, and life-saving action. We said American Stroke Month, National Mental Health, Power to End Stroke Sunday, May 17th, and of course, lupus awareness. So we continue to move forward in faith, health, and service. One congregation, one campaign, and one conversation at a time. And remember, you can download the full list of the health observances that's shown on the screen. You can download that for the entire year at www.hopembc.com. Okay, we covered a lot tonight. And now it's your turn. If you're joining us on Zoom, please type your question in the chat or raise your virtual hand. And for those tuning in via social media, we are monitoring the comments and we'll make sure your voice is heard. So we'll take a few minutes, we'll take about 5 minutes to hear from you. Any questions? I saw a few in the chat. Anne Marie is here to answer your questions. We want to take about 5 minutes. Any questions? You want to raise your hand or put your comments in the chat? I saw Anne Marie did answer a few from the chat.
I commented about Dr. Linda hoping that her daughter is doing well.
Great, great.
I will say while you guys do that, there are treatments for lupus that are designed to put the disease into remission. They're called a biologic, and they are underprescribed nationwide by less than 1% of lupus patients getting these treatments. And then, of course, when they do prescribe it, it's really biased toward our white community. And so I can put in the chat what they are. It's called Benlysta, which has been out for 15 years.
Yes, please put that in the chat. And then no matter where, because we have people from all over, so check out the Lupus Foundation of America's, each
Lupus,
state.
but they're not new diseases.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important that, Dr. Linda reminded me that when someone has lupus, they should be getting treatment toward remission.
And then because it's Lupus Foundation of America, no matter where an individual, what state they're in, there is a lupus chapter in your state. So you can check out the Lupus Foundation of America's website. Any other hands raised? Any other questions, comments? So it's Benlysta or Saphnelo?
And may I answer Miss Stephanie's question?
Yeah, sure.
So Miss Stephanie asked, why is lupus so difficult to diagnose? Number one is because it's misunderstood, and we tend to chase the symptom instead of the cause of the symptom. Number two is because we have to ask for the test. It doesn't come naturally as part of what's called your CBC panel. So we recommend, if there's autoimmune in your family heritage, that every year at your annual physical, you actually request what's called an ANA panel. I'm going to put that in the chat as well.
Okay.
The ANA panel is a simple blood test. And if autoimmune is in your family, insurance will cover the blood test. Even if it's not, and you want to self-pay, it's about $125. So if you have a suspicion that you have two or more of the lupus symptoms we talked about, hair loss, extreme fatigue, joint pain, if your urine is funny because it's impacting your kidney, if your urine is kind of frothy or looking funny, sounding funny when it hits, or smelling funny, then I would ask, hey, I'm a little concerned. This could be lupus. It runs in my family. I'd like a test. And the doctor is going to say, no. And you're going to go, yes, it's my decision and I would like one and it runs in my family. And then they'll do it for you.
Because we are stewards of our own health. Sister Patricia, you can unmute yourself. I see your hand is raised. Can you unmute yourself, Patricia? Sister Patricia, unmute.
That's okay. She already answered my question when she said what the test was. I just needed a repeat for that. And while I'm here, I will say Dreamland is very delicious.
It's good. So, and I have to tell you, Tuskegee's is the best. I've been to Mobile, Birmingham, Montgomery, and Tuskegee, and I like Tuskegee's the best.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Dr. Linda is saying your daughter is 56 now. I'm curious, when was she actually diagnosed? Dr. Linda?
Can you unmute Dr. Wilkie? Are you able to unmute? Or if you want to,
Yes,
okay,
do
there
you
you are.
hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
ma'am.
about 20 years ago, I
Okay.
think, because she went through a series of tests. They test her for sickle cell, and the doctor decided to test her for something else and to run more tests, and that's how they found it.
They finally found it. So
Mhm.
did she have other organ impairment?
Yes, she was always aching and sick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes,
And and the reason I ask is because it brings up a really good point. Lupus going undiagnosed, like anything else, if you have the flu, RSV,
Mhm.
COVID, the faster you get a diagnosis, the faster you can begin treatment, right?
Mhm.
yes. And
If
she
lupus,
stays with her treatments now. Yes, she sticks to
hopefully
those.
she's on either Benlysta or Safnello,
Hmm.
good, because that's an important step. What happens is if lupus is not being treated, if we're only treating the symptoms, okay, the joint swelling, the fatigue, if we're only treating the symptoms, lupus is continuing to attack the organs inside your body. So the reason Nick Cannon's story went so big, because Nick Cannon was like, it's just lupus, it's fine.
Mhm.
And then his kidney went, oh yeah, watch this. And
Mhm.
so he ended up with a very bad case of lupus nephritis. And I can't tell you how many people I've met with that same story, especially our young men getting diagnosed about 20 years old.
Mhm.
So it's important. I'm glad she does have a diagnosis now, Dr. Linden. I'm glad she is on the best treatment available. That's what talking about lupus can change for you. Is somebody might say, "Oh my gosh, I have those symptoms. What if it's lupus?"
Yes, because I used to call it the many faces of her, different faces she was going through. Today this and tomorrow that, or
Mhm.
yesterday it was that.
Well, we
So
Well,
want to thank you.
hopefully she continues to thrive and will get to remission with those drugs.
yes, yes,
Mhm. Well, again, thank you for your thoughtful questions and comments. Your engagement tonight helps us build stronger, healthier churches. And we're just getting started. So, as we prepare, we want to give you a preview of our June health observances. Next month, our key health observances, as you share with your health ministries, plan for Men's Health Month in the month of June is Fireworks Safety Month, and then NBC USA Inc. Hope National Health Fair. We encourage you to download the full list of our health observances at www.hopembc.com. So we'd appreciate your feedback. We ask you, if you will, please complete our webinar survey. Brother Duke will post the link in the chat. We ask that you complete it because we know the biggest room for improvement is for us to hear from you, to share with us where we can improve on. So this webinar, we want to hear from you. What words, what do you want to see? So please complete the survey. So we appreciate the tireless work of our NBC USA Inc. Hope team, our dynamic leader, Dr. Michael O'Miner, Dr. Desi Levy, Sister Lottie Miner, Sister Nettie Johnson, Pastor Dexter Moraney, Sister Ellen McKnight Hill, Dr. Felisa Washington, Minister Geraldine Moore, Sister Loretta Miller, Dr. Lavoria Williams, Sister Bettina Campbell, Dr. Marion Talley, Sister Ophelia Carr, and our very own Brother Thomas Duke Robinson. And then our regional coordinators include Pastor Daniel Blackburn. He is our Northeast regional coordinator. So anyone in the Northeast, send us an email at info@HopeNBC, and we will connect you to your regional coordinator. Pastor Bernard Montgomery, who's also the Assistant National Director, Southwest Region 1 and West Region Regional Coordinator. Yours truly, Dr. Linda Carper. I am our Southwest 2 Regional Coordinator and Southeast. Anyone on from Southwest 2 and Southeast? Yay. Sister Teresa Fels for Midwest, and Pastor Will Mitchell for West Regional Coordinator. So to connect with your regional coordinator, if you have not, please email info@hopenbc.com and we will connect you. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. As we close, we thank you, thank you, thank you. We invite you to stay connected with NBC USA Hope through our website. Look, it's on the screen, and social media platforms. We have our webpage, www.hopenbc.com, Facebook, National Baptist Convention USA Inc. Hope Health Initiative, YouTube, NBC USA Hope. Again, on the screen, you see our new look. Thank you, Brother Duke. This looks great. Please scan the QR code. You can have the Hope app right at your fingertips. And again, we encourage you to complete the survey. Complete the survey. So we want to say we will see you on Tuesday, June 2nd, 7:30 p.m. for our next TempleCare Matters webinar. Again, scan that QR code, get the Hope app, and have it at your fingertips. So before we close, we recognize our president, Dr. Boise Kimber, who reminds us we are changing the course, not our conviction. The gospel still works. And this has been a production of the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, the nation's most collaborative religious denomination. May God continue to bless our bodies, minds, and spirits as we walk in wellness and wisdom together. God bless you and God keep you is our prayer. Now we will stay on for a few